So how does that get us to Pearl Harbor, right? We've embargoed the oil. Japan doesn't care. Japan's committing atrocities. Germany's committing atrocities. Great Britain is all alone. The U.S. is this great powerhouse, but we are not doing anything except selling supplies to Great Britain because we're not going to send our men into war. We are staying out of it until we're not anymore. So we have this problem with Japan in the Pacific, and we decide, I don't know who makes this decision. I would assume Franklin Roosevelt as the commander-in-chief. We decide it's time to move our Pacific fleet from California down to Hawaii. For no reason. We swear we're not going down there for anything. We're not trying to start a war. We just need to move them to the Pacific so they can practice their maneuvers. We just have to move our entire Pacific fleet, or most of our Pacific fleet, down to Pearl Harbor in Hawaii. It just so happens to coincide with Japan continuing their atrocities and invading and taking over the other areas of Asia while we are, Hitler's taking over Europe. But it's not to go to war. And so we say that, the U.S. fleet is not in Hawaii to fight. We're just there to practice maneuvers. Japan does not believe this. Japan sees this move as a threat. And they come up with a plan to eliminate the threat. And the U.S. is well aware of this plan. It is silly to say the U.S. didn't know. They had intelligence that Japan was planning an attack. Not only that, but the day of the attack, we get reports before the attack starts that Japanese airplanes are flying overhead and a sunken Japanese submarine has washed up on the shores of Hawaii. So we know before they start to attack that something's coming that day. We still don't mobilize the troops. So on December 7th, 1941, at 8 o'clock in the morning, I think, maybe 9 o'clock, don't quote me on the time, you can look that up, Japan attacks and they bomb Pearl Harbor. Their intent is to take out the U.S. fleet. Their goal is if we take out the Pacific fleet, then we're not going to have a fleet left and we will have to submit to the Japanese and we will at least have to give up our Pacific territories. But unfortunately for the Japanese, our entire Pacific fleet has not been docked at Pearl Harbor that day. A lot of it is out in the ocean actually practicing maneuvers, including our aircraft carriers. So while they do attack and they do take out a lot of aircraft, they do not manage to sink or destroy completely most of our fleet. They do take out a lot of the grounded aircraft. That's a big loss, but we can make up those airplanes again. They sink a battleship, the USS Arizona, and of course they damage lots of other battleships. Lots of lives are lost in this. But the aircraft carriers are not taken out because they're out on maneuver, and we need aircraft carriers as much as the next guy, because if you have an aircraft carrier, you can take your aircraft out into the middle of the ocean. You don't need a landing strip or a runway because it's on the boat. And if they didn't take out our aircraft carriers, then that's not going to eliminate the threat of the U.S. What it does is send Franklin Roosevelt to Congress to ask them to declare war. So Japan attacks on December 7th, 1941. December 9th, 1941, Franklin Roosevelt gives his Day of Infamy speech in front of Congress. He says we need to declare war on Japan. Congress agrees. And as soon as Congress declares war on Japan, Hitler declares war on the United States. So now we're at war with the Axis powers of Germany, Japan, and Italy. Meanwhile, Hitler has decided at that point that he is going to go back on his non-aggression pact with Stalin, which is going to lead to bigger problems. We're going to cover that in another video because the bell just rang and I need to go. So I will see you in another video, but we are almost done with the unit, I promise.